Tom Osborne Brooke Berringer statue has a new home.
Mm-hmm.
It has moved from North Stadium to now in front of the Tom and Nancy Osborne complex, which makes perfect sense. I was honestly kind of wondering what they were going to do with that statue, because there was really no reason to walk into the North Stadium anymore.
No, I'm going to drive by there after the show. I want to see that. It's right over, not far from the Devaney statue.
Yeah.
And then that statue of the players right out in front of the stadium on that side, the east side. I want to see it. Now, I got a question. The North Stadium was called the Osborne Complex. Is that going to get renamed?
That was the Osborne Complex too?
Yeah, it was the Tom and Nancy Osborne Complex.
Or did they just, I don't know. That's a great question. I mean, like the Indomitian Sioux weight room. Is the new weight room?
I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of things like that, but they moved that. Can you imagine moving that statue?
Oh, I wonder how hard it is. Are they doing? Is that it right there?
Yeah, they're doing it right here.
Well, it doesn't look that hard. It's fascinating. That's fascinating. You know, Sean, that's worth driving by to look at.
Take the motorcycle by there later.
Or no, maybe. That's not a bad idea, actually.
It's funny, though. Like, I felt like East Stadium was a side that you never would really need to go over to now. And now everything's over there.
Yeah, good point. I mean, yeah, you wrote that in your column, and I didn't really think about it. But that North Stadium, we won't go over there anymore. Really no reason, right? So, yeah. And I haven't even been to the front of, full disclosure, I haven't been to the front of the new complex, the new training complex. I've seen the back of it, but I've never viewed it from the campus side. You see what I'm saying?
The training table will open here when school starts too. They have not officially started serving food out of there, and that will open up here soon.
So that's still in the north side.
Well, I mean, if they're serving meals, I don't know if they are right now. Like, they might have limited food service for the football team, but I think starting when classes get going in August, they'll start serving food with their new provider, Flick, out of the new facility. But the academics are also going to be headquartered over here.
Okay. Now, transitioning. I thought the most interesting part of your column today was what players are Nebraska's top in-state targets for 2026. I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah, you look at it right now. Isaac Jensen, to me, of Millard South, a tight end, is the number one player for Nebraska in this state next year.
And who's the number one player this year?
A tight end from Millard South.
Right. That's
Chase Lofton.
Chase Lofton this year, Isaac Jensen next year. That's for Millard South, first of all, just to claim back-to-back top players in the state. And then that's something. And then to have them both be tight ends is really interesting.
Yeah, and nobody is highly ranked yet in Nebraska. I still think they're, everyone's kind of carrying like a middle, low 3-star ranking in the state. Then you go from there. Jace Reynolds,
Elkhorn North
linebacker, also played at Chase Lofton at one point at Elkhorn North. He was the lone in-state camp offer Nebraska made. So I would say today, Jace Reynolds and Isaac Jensen are the top names. And then, they made an early offer to Deshaun Prince, who went from Benson to Central. He's now, by the way, at Millard South. Deshaun didn't camp. And I don't believe that offer would be committable right now, because I do think they want to, work guys out, see them live, get a chance to work them out. And so I don't know where that stands with Deshaun Prince in Nebraska.
So those following along at home can see that Millard South has Chase Lofton, Deshaun Prince, Isaac Jensen, and Amarian Jackson.
Yeah, and Amarian Jackson, who has multiple. Amarian Jackson has as impressive an offer list as anybody in the state as well. Nebraska has not offered him yet, and I don't know if they are for sure. I mean, I think they've worked him out 2 years in a row at camp.
Mm-hmm.
When Matt Rule looks at skill players, particularly DBs and receivers, what do they look at heavily?
Well, they look at size and speed, measurables,
and verified
measurables.
And so that, I think that might be the holdup here with Amarian Jackson. I mean, look, he's got great production. Kind of reminds me of Xavier Watts when he was in high school.
Okay, Omaha Burke.
Xavier Watts ran like 4.7, 4.8 40s at Nebraska.
Which is probably not fast enough to play receiver.
No, and Frost's people didn't really fall in love with him. They still offered him eventually, but they kind of felt that they weren't a priority. And Notre Dame got involved, and credit former Husker staffer Aaron Carney, who ran recruiting for Brian Kelly. They really bought into Xavier Watts, and he's now an All-American at Notre Dame.
But not as a receiver.
No, as a safety,
Right.
strong safety. So as Amarian Jackson, could he play other? I've heard that tossed around. We'll see.
Does he want to?
Does he? Yeah. Does he want to?
I mean, we watched him in camp. He's good. He's a 6'1", 190 long strider, catches the ball well. It's probably a 40 that he's got to improve, right?
And he's working with our friend Chris Slatt, I know, and doing workouts there.
He's a good looking player, Sean.
No, he's going to possibly be the all-time leading receiver in the state of Nebraska.
State of Nebraska. He's already Millard South's all-time leader.
He's on track to break the record. If he has 2 years like he's had, he'll break the record.
The state record.
The state record.
I think he's already Millard South's.
Right. I'm talking the all-time leading guy.
Isn't that interesting? It's interesting.
And I believe one of Cluster's sons has that record.
Okay, Cluster Johnson.
Yeah, and I'll say this: another player on Millard South, Landon Von Segren.
Yeah,
he's an offensive lineman, and I do think Nebraska is fairly close to offering him, or at least looking at him closely. He's picked up Power 5 offers as an O lineman, so Landon Von Segren is a name to watch.
Yeah,
I
guess if you're on Millard South, you're a name to watch.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, I don't know how you should look at this, but there's really 2 or 3 teams that are just kind of hoarding the talent in Nebraska. Millard South and Westside are 2 of them. And then, you can make cases for Bellevue West and, teams like Millard North, Creighton Prep. But we've seen high profile players from Lincoln, Dallas Jackson, and Maurice Purify move to Omaha to play for these teams. So I think that's going to start to really reflect and just the parity of high school football that, I mean, when the best talent can just go wherever they want now, these 2 or 3 programs are going to really get a lot of them are going to get these players.
Yeah. I mean, I can't emphasize it enough. I've probably emphasized it too much already, but Millard South has an incredible amount of talent on offense. Now, I imagine they have a good defense too, but I mean, think about the players we named off, and that's not even to mention Jet Tamala, their quarterback. They have I think he's
close to a D1 guy too. Yeah, and we didn't mention Jet Tamala, but he'll probably be a D1 guy. It's just a matter of where he falls.
Deshaun Prince, Amarian Jackson, Isaac Jensen, Chase Lofton. I mean, those are all Division I players.
Landon Von Segren, Dallas Jackson, or Dallas Washington. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a lot of weapons, and they're going to play that game against Vasha, Arizona, early in the season.
They're jumping on a plane
where they fly out there, and so that's a semifinal team that beat Dylan Raiola's team when Dylan Raiola played in Phoenix.
Fascinating.